Before marriage, Ngozi was a different person. She was a soft-spoken girl with a kind of face that would make you think she couldn't hurt a fly. Anytime she came to Oke's family house, she would greet everyone with respect. She would kneel down to greet Mama Oke. "Good afternoon, Mama. Let me help you in the kitchen," she would say. And truly, she would help in the kitchen. In fact, it got to the point where even Mama Oke started saying to her friends, "You see this girl Oke wants to marry. She's a very good girl, oh. She's a wife material." When Ngozi visited Oke's family house, she would sweep the compound, wash Mama Oke's clothes all with her hands. She would fetch water from the well and carry it into the kitchen with a smile on her face. She would cook very tasty food that made Mama Oke lick her fingers. She was so good that even the neighbors noticed her. They started calling her Ngo, the wife material. Old women in the streets would say, "Oke is lucky, oh. This girl is the type that will take care of her mother-in-law like her own mother." Mama Oke became very proud. She even told her fellow women in the market, "My son Oke no go suffer at all. Ngozi is a very peaceful girl." Just in time, everything was set and the traditional marriage came and passed. Oke and Ngozi were joined as husband and wife. Mama Oke danced that day like the happy mother that she was. She even gave Ngozi wrapper and new slippers as a welcome gift. Just 2 weeks after the wedding, Oke got a message. It was the job he had been waiting for in Port Harcourt. The offer had finally come. Although it was good news, but then it meant that Oke had to leave quickly and get settled in Port Harcourt. Then later, Ngozi would have to join him over there. So he told Ngozi, "My baby, please stay and take care of Mama. I will send money and I will come back soon for you." Ngozi smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will take care of her. She's my mother too, you know." Mama Oke looked at the young couple with joy in her heart. She didn't know that the moment her son stepped out of the house, her own suffering would begin. The very next morning, after Oke left for Port Harcourt, something in Ngozi changed. She didn't greet Mama Oke the usual way. She walked past her mother-in-law like she wasn't even there. When Mama Oke asked her, "Ngozi, hope all is well. Won't you fetch water for the house today?" Ngozi looked at her from head to toe and then she hissed, "Mama, abeg oh, my body dey pain me. Is it every day I will be doing house chores in this house? Abeg oh." Ngozi clapped back at her mother-in-law. Mama Oke was shocked, but she just kept quiet. She felt Ngozi was missing her husband, and that was the reason for her misbehavior. That afternoon, Ngozi cooked only for herself and she ate alone. Mama Oke waited and waited, thinking maybe her daughter-in-law would serve her own food, but nothing came. When she asked, "Ngozi, where is my own food?" Ngozi looked at her and said, "Mama, you sef no be small pikin. You be adult and you know where the market is. If you are hungry, go and buy your own food and cook for yourself." And that was the genesis of the whole problem. From that day, Ngozi changed into a monster. She would wake up late and refuse to sweep the compound. She would sit down, press her phone and shout at Mama Oke like she was her mate. If Mama Oke mistakenly complained about anything, she would scream, "Old witch, you are not my mother, oh. I am already married to your son and you cannot control me." And every day brought out the beast in Ngozi. She started locking her room door and playing loud music. She would even wear short skirts around the compound, walking up and down and chewing gum. Sometimes she would bring her friends into the house and they would gossip and laugh loudly, ignoring her husband's mother completely. And the worst part was when Ngozi made Mama Oke do all the house chores. The old woman washed plates, fetched water and cooked food, and if Mama Oke didn't do them fast enough, Ngozi would insult her. "Old woman, You are very useless, oh, like a bag of gari. Am I supposed to be the one to serve you? Ngozi would scream. Mama Oke was confused. How did someone who was very humble change completely and so fast? Mama Oke would cry in her room at night. She silently prayed for her son to come back soon. But Oke was far away, and each time he called, Ngozi would pretend, "My husband, everything is fine. Mama is doing well. We are like mother and daughter. You know how much I love Mama, just like my late mother," Ngozi said with the corner of her mouth. Meanwhile, Mama Oke couldn't even tell her son what was happening. When it was time for Oke to speak to his mother, Ngozi would stand by the phone and watch her like a hawk. One wrong word from her and she would lock her in her room. The first few weeks after Oke started calling frequently, things became better. Mama Oke thought she would finally rest and enjoy peace in her own house, but she was wrong. At first, Ngozi would wake up early in the morning and pretend to sweep the compound. She would enter Mama Oke's room with a fake smile, asking if Mama slept well. She would cook small food in the morning and also bring water for Mama Oke to take her bath. Mama Oke tried to believe that maybe her daughter-in-law was trying to adjust back to her usual self, but that was just for a short time. Once Oke sent the first money from Port Harcourt, everything changed again. Ngozi collected the money with two hands. She told her mother-in-law that Oke said she should make sure she managed the house well, and Mama believed her. Mama Oke then begged her, "Ngozi, please buy some food stuff so I can cook soup, even if it is just small bitter leaf soup. Let me see something to eat." Ngozi nodded her head and smiled. "Mama, don't worry, I will do that tomorrow." But the next day came and there was no food in the house. Mama Oke waited, but she didn't see Ngozi. She was left with no choice but to drink garri. Later that evening, she saw Ngozi returning from the road with a small nylon. She was laughing with one of the local palm wine tappers, her skirt dragged high, showing off her legs. Mama saw pepper soup stain on her blouse. She even staggered a little as she walked. Mama Oke looked at her and shook her head. The next week, Ngozi bought herself 2 new lace gowns and 1 brown handbag. She started going out every evening and returning late. And at home, Mama Oke would wake up hungry and sleep with the little food she could afford. Many nights, she would use palm kernel seeds to sip garri before going to bed. One morning, Mama Oke asked her, "Ngozi, my daughter, didn't Oke send money for foodstuff again?" Ngozi dropped the cup of tea she was drinking and she looked at her husband's mother with red eyes. "Old witch, are you questioning me? Are you calling me a thief?" "No," Mama Oke said softly. "I only wanted to know if..." Before she could complete her sentence, Ngozi interrupted her. She didn't let her finish her word. She stood up and looked at Mama Oke with hatred in her eyes. "Don't ever question me again in this house. Do you hear me, old witch?" Mama Oke cried that day. She sat on the bare floor and cried till her wrapper was soaked with tears. And that was only the beginning of Mama Oke's pain. Meanwhile, Ngozi locked the food cupboard with a small padlock and started cooking only for herself. She would eat meat and pounded yam and then pour water on the plate and keep it for Mama Oke to wash. If she complained, Ngozi would give her the insult of her life. Sometimes she would push the old woman. Mama Oke had fainted once from hunger. It was a neighbor who found her lying near the kitchen, and she hurriedly called some other women to rescue her. They poured water on her and helped her sit up. When they asked her what happened, Mama Oke just shook her head. Then she said, "My children, I am fine." But everyone knew. They saw how Ngozi had changed since her husband Oke traveled, but they didn't want to interfere. Okay, on his part, kept sending money, but his mother was starving in her own house. She would pick firewood herself, carry water on her head, and wash Ngozi's clothes. And yet, the insult and maltreatment never stopped. The shame on Mama Oke was too much, but nobody told Oke. Ngozi made sure nobody could reach out to her husband. She would even send voice notes to Oke, telling him that Mama was doing fine. She made it look like the house was peaceful, but inside that house, her mother-in-law was dying slowly. Soon, the whole compound started whispering. Even small children noticed how Mama Oke had changed. The once strong and lively woman now looked thin and tired. Her wrapper no longer looked neat. Her eyes were always red. Her steps were slow and weak. However, women from the neighborhood started to talk. That Ngozi girl is a devil. Mama Uzo said one day at the borehole. Ever since her husband traveled, she has not given her mother-in-law peace. I heard she pushed the woman and she fainted the other day. I heard she beat the poor woman too. And on top of that, she doesn't even cook for her. Can you imagine that? Another woman added, I saw Mama Oke fetching firewood 2 days ago. Firewood though, at her age. Ngozi is wicked and God will definitely deal with her. But Ngozi did not care. She would walk through the street swinging her hips. She even started doing her nails. This week, she will do red nails and the next, she will do green nails. People looked at her with disgust in their eyes, but she would just hiss and raise her shoulders. And she wasn't acting alone. However, there was one person who always pushed her to maltreat her mother-in-law. It was Oyama. Oyama was her close friend. She was a married woman with 5 children. It was Oyama who told her, if you want to survive in your husband's house, deal with your mother-in-law very well. If you don't show her who is the boss, she will throw you out and bring another woman for her son. Ngozi listened to Oyama as if she was a prophet. She's pretending to like you now, Oyama would say, but the day your husband starts making real money, building houses and buying cars, she will turn him against you. But my mother-in-law has not done anything bad to me, Ngozi once said. But Oyama replied, you know I have been married more than you have been. Your mother-in-law will act sweet now, but she will definitely change. When your husband send money, don't let her touch it. Cook for yourself. Treat her like a stranger. If she tries nonsense, deal with her. You hear me? And that was what Ngozi did. Anytime she wanted to stop, anytime she felt guilty, Oyama would ginger her to do more wickedness to her mother-in-law. Stay strong, my sister. If you are soft now, that old witch will take advantage of you. Can't you see? I am still in my husband's house. If his mother tries nonsense, I will put her in her place. So, Ngozi hardened her heart. Mama Oke would be coughing in her room. Ngozi would raise the music. She's playing louder. Mama would be hungry. Ngozi would eat in front of her and leave the bones on the table. Ngozi no longer cared about what people would say. Let them gossip. Let them judge. I don't care. As long as I am marking my territory. No other woman will enter this house. I am the first and only wife of my husband, Ngozi would say. Ngozi was the queen of her home now. Oke was not around, so she was in charge. But what Ngozi didn't know was this: God was watching and her days of shame was coming soon. Ngozi thought Oyama was her best friend. She trusted her with everything. If they couldn't see physically at their usual joint, she would call her on the phone. She told Oyama about the money Oke sent, how Mama Oke cried sometimes, and how she laughed at her behind closed doors. Oyama would listen and laugh too, and then praise her for her bravery. Ngozi, my friend, you are doing well. Keep it up. Don't pity that old witch. But there was something Ngozi didn't know. Oyama had never been honest with her. In fact, Oyama treated her own mother-in-law like a queen. Every morning, she would sweep her compound. She would wash her mother-in-law's clothes. She would even press her legs when she was tired. Her husband loved her deeply, and their home was filled with peace. But she told Ngozi the opposite. She told Ngozi to fight, maltreat, starve, and insult her own mother-in-law because of what happened years ago. This was her own way of making Ngozi pay back for what she had done during their secondary school days. Ozioma and Ngozi were in secondary school together. They were best friends. Wherever you see Ozioma, Ngozi was there. They laughed and played together. Everyone knew them. Then one day, Ngozi lied. She told the principal that Ozioma had stolen money from the school bursar's table. The principal believed her and the news spread quickly. Ozioma was flogged and disgraced in front of the whole school. Afterwards, she was suspended. Ozioma's mother cried and begged the school to take her back, but the shame never left. Throughout her remaining years in the school, she was constantly bullied and mocked. She was accused wrongly by her own friend, and ever since then, she never forgot or forgave Ngozi. From that day, she vowed to destroy Ngozi no matter how long it takes. Years passed and they reconnected. Ngozi didn't even remember that very incident that had happened years ago, but it lived rent-free in Ozioma's head. When Ngozi got married and started asking for marriage advice, Ozioma knew it was time to take her revenge. She picked up her phone and began the real plan. She fed Ngozi poison with her words. She told Ngozi to treat her mother-in-law like a slave. But instead of Ngozi to use her brains, she believed every word that dropped out from Ozioma's mouth. And Ozioma, she was having a good laugh behind Ngozi. She knew Ngozi was destroying her own home with her own hands, and she loved it. Every evening, Ozioma would sit on her soft cushion, holding her phone in one hand and a cup of zobo in the other. Her face always had a sly smile because she knew Ngozi had fallen into her trap. She would call Ngozi and ask, "My friend, how far? What did that old woman do today?" Ngozi would laugh, "My sister, you need to see how I pushed her today. The woman nearly fainted oh." Ozoma would laugh too, and then she would say, "Very good, my friend. You are too soft, safe. Be careful, oh. All these old women, they are fond of giving their sons small girls. Keep marking your territory. You hear me?" Ngozi would nod and take the advice like a goat. She didn't know Ozioma had voice recordings whenever Ngozi called to boast about what she had done to her mother-in-law. Ozioma would press the record button on her phone. In fact, she had dozens of voice recordings saved on her phone. She wasn't recording because she cared about Mama Oke or her son. She did it because she wanted Ngozi to suffer. She wanted Ngozi to break down just the way she did a few years ago. She wanted to sit down one day and send all the voice recordings to Oke. It was her own revenge on Ngozi. It was slow and sweet, and Ngozi did not suspect a thing, not even one bit. She thought Ozioma was her friend and sister, but she didn't know Ozioma had wicked plans towards her. She kept feeding Ozioma with information, and Ozioma, on her own part, was waiting for the perfect timing to strike. As Ngozi continued with her constant drama, Mama Oke's body started to change. Her back was bent more than it used to be before. Her legs trembled when she walked. She coughed every night, and sometimes her voice refused to come out in the morning. Mama Oke's eyes, that was once bright like the morning sun, now looked tired. She would sit outside, sometimes under the mango tree, with tears in her eyes, but she never said anything to anyone. She didn't want to bring shame to her son Oke. She believed that one day God will fight her battle. Ngozi saw all this, but she didn't stop. Even when Mama Oke coughed so much that she almost fainted, Ngozi would say, "Old woman, stop disturbing my peace in this house. Stand up and go and wash the bathroom." Even when Mama Oke would sit outside because the heat inside was too much for her body, Ngozi would say, "Lazy old woman, you want to gather pity from neighbors, abi? Better go inside and finish the soup I told you to prepare for me." Soon, Mama Oke's hands began to shake when she washed plates. She started dropping things, sometimes hot water poured on her leg, and she would cry silently, pressing a wrapper to her mouth so that Ngozi wouldn't hear. Ngozi never gave her food, but she managed to gather something from Ngozi's leftovers. If Oke sent money to Ngozi, then he told her, "Make sure Mama feeds well." Ngozi would laugh and buy herself roasted fish and sweet palm wine. She would sit in the sitting room and eat like a thief. Mama Oke would sit at the back of the house, soaking garri in cold water and picking small palm kernel seeds from the backyard. Mama Oke never told the neighbors what she was going through in the house, although they could see changes in Ngozi, but her mother-in-law never for once discussed her wickedness with anyone. Rather, she prayed and hoped her son would return soon. But as the days went by, her body got weaker and Ngozi's wickedness grew stronger. Most nights, she kicked Mama Oke out of the room and made her sleep on a mat near the kitchen, a place where rats and cockroaches moved freely at night. Mama Oke would cough and struggle to sleep. Sometimes she would wake up holding her chest in pain, but still she never said a word to anyone because she believed her son would come back soon. But what she didn't know was that heavens had already started moving in her favor. The people who watched and said nothing were now getting angry. The whispers were turning into questions and answers. Oke was in Port Harcourt when he got the voice notes. He had just returned from work, tired and hungry. He sat on the bed, removed his shoes, and scrolled through his phone when he saw a message from an unknown Facebook account. The name was hidden. There was no profile picture for identification. It was just the message. He opened it slowly, and what he heard froze his blood. It was a woman's voice. "Okay, I know you don't know me. I am not here to cause problem, but I can't keep quiet anymore. Please, your wife Ngozi, she is treating your mother like a slave back home. She beats her and starves her. Your mother is dying slowly and nobody is saying anything. You need to come back home. Please, save your mother before it is too late." Oke dropped the phone. His heart was beating fast. "No, that is not possible," he said to himself as he tried to stand. He called Ngozi immediately and she picked up. "Hello, my husband," she said sweetly, like she always did. "Where is Mama?" Oke asked. "She went to women's meeting in the village square. You know Mama now. She likes community things," Ngozi replied, while laughing like a spoilt wife. Oke felt confused. He didn't want to believe the voice notes he just listened to. He didn't want to believe his wife could do such a thing to his own mother. But something in him didn't rest. That night, he couldn't sleep, and the next morning, he entered a bus. He didn't tell Ngozi he was returning back home. He just packed his bag and traveled home. It was evening when Oke reached the compound. Nobody expected him to be back at that time. He walked quietly into the house. The front door was open when he heard a loud voice from the backyard. "Old woman, useless thing. I will pour you this water today. Nonsense." On hearing those demeaning words, Oke hurriedly rushed to the backyard, and what he saw broke him into pieces. Ngozi was standing over his mother. She was holding a bucket of dirty water and was about to pour it on the woman. Mama Oke was on the ground. She was coughing and crying. Her wrapper was torn. Her legs were shaking. Before Ngozi could pour the water on Mama Oke, her husband shouted, "Ngozi!" Ngozi froze. Then she turned slowly, and her face turned white like chalk. "Oh, Oke, what are you doing here? Oke walked slowly to her, shaking his head in disbelief and disappointment. He didn't talk to her. He turned to his mother. She was wet and very weak. When Mama Oke looked at her son, tears started dropping from his eyes. My son, you came. Oke dropped to his knees and held her tightly. Mama, what is this? What happened to you? Ngozi started stammering. My husband, it is not what you think. Mama fell and I was trying to help her. Before she could finish her words, Oke raised his hand. Don't say a word, Ngozi. By this time, tears were already rolling down his face. He had trusted Ngozi blindly, and now his mother had to pay for his own mistake. You told me Mama was fine. I sent you money to take care of yourself and Mama, but you used it for yourself alone. You made my mother suffer. Ngozi, you are a wicked woman. He looked around the compound. There were dirty plates and empty pots, and he was sure Ngozi was trying to make his mother wash them. And then he remembered the voice notes. He stood up and faced Ngozi. From today, you are no longer my wife. I will never forgive you for this evil you did to my mother. As Oke spoke, Ngozi burst into tears. She went on her knees. Oke, please, I can explain. She was the one who... Get inside, pack your things and leave my house. When you get to your own father's house, you can explain to them, Oke said with anger in his voice. Oke quickly carried his mother in his arms. His heart was heavy. His eyes were filled with shame and regret. He kept asking himself how he didn't see it, how he allowed Ngozi to do this to his own mother. As he rushed down, he noticed his mother was light, too light for a woman her age. She had lost so much weight. Her skin was dry, her lips cracked, and her eyes looked tired. But still, she held his hand and whispered softly, I didn't want to disturb you, my son. I didn't want you to worry. Tears dropped from Oke's eyes as they reached the community hospital. He rushed in. Please, help me. My mother is not feeling well. The nurses quickly came out and helped them. Mama Oke was placed on a stretcher and wheeled into the ward, and Oke sat on a bench outside the ward. His face was buried in his hands. While Oke was at the hospital, Ngozi packed her things in silence and shame. She knew Oke would never accept her after what she did to his mother. She was crying and shaking in confusion. She never expected Oke to come home like that. She never expected to be caught. She took only her clothes and nothing else. As she dragged her bag down the village path towards her father's house, people peeped from their windows. Some whispered, some spat on the ground that she walked on. When she reached her father's house, she knocked and waited. Her father opened the door. He was a retired teacher known in the village for his wisdom and discipline. He looked at her in silence. Then he said, Is what I heard true, Ngozi? So, you maltreat the man's mother who married you. Ngozi dropped her bag and fell on her knees. Papa, I don't know what came over me. It was the devil. Keep quiet, he shouted. Don't ever mention the devil. You did it with your own hands to a woman that carried no gun against you, a woman that accepted you like a daughter. At this time, Ngozi cried harder. Her father didn't touch her. He turned and walked into the house, shaking his head. That night, he didn't eat. He was disappointed in the child he single-handedly raised. 2 days later, when Mama Oke's condition stabilized at the hospital, the village women held a meeting. It was called Umu Adada. It was a gathering of all married women in the village. They met under the big orange tree at the village square. Chairs were arranged, wrappers tied tightly, and their eyes focused. The leader of the women, Mama Tochukwu, stood and addressed the other women. My fellow women, we have seen something that we cannot close our eyes to. This girl Ngozi, she beat her husband's mother. She starved her. She brought shame to the women of this community. The rest of the women clapped in anger. She cannot go free, Mama Tochukwu continued. We must teach others that this kind of wickedness is not welcome here. They all agreed. Ngozi was summoned immediately, and when she arrived, she was made to kneel in the center of the gathering. The women didn't touch her, but their words pierced her like hot knives. You disgraced the women of this community. You are not fit to marry anyone's son in this community. You must go to every elder's house and beg for forgiveness. You must sweep the entire community for 12 market days, and you will not step foot in your husband's compound again. We, the women of this community, hereby dissolve the marriage between you and Oke. Ngozi cried and cried, but no one came to her rescue. Once Umu Adada dissolves a marriage in their community, there is nothing anyone can do about it. Just in time, Ngozi's punishment started. She went to every home and tendered an apology. She didn't stop there. For the next 12 market days, Ngozi swept the entire community without getting help from anyone. Soon, it was all over. She was never allowed to go back to her husband's house, and she lived with the shame for the better part of her life. Time passed, months rolled into a year. Oke did not rush into anything. He focused on rebuilding his mother's health, and when she had fully recovered, he opened a provision store for his mother. Then he met Chia Maka. She was kind and loving to both familiar faces and strangers. She had been Oke's friend for about a year now. When Mama Oke was still nursing her pain, she had visited her, bearing food and fruits. Not knowing Mama Oke was going to be her future mother-in-law, Mama Oke saw the way she knelt down to greet her, the way she cleaned the kitchen without complaints. At first, she was skeptical. She didn't want a daughter-in-law like Ngozi, one who would be nice, and once she was married into the family, would become a wild animal. But with time, she accepted Chia Maka. She could tell this one was different. And to be honest, it didn't take long before the love between Oke's mother and Chia Maka grew. After the marriage ceremony between Oke and his new bride, he packed his bags and held her hand, and they moved to Port Harcourt together. Meanwhile, Mama Oke ran her provision store. She had peace and her skin glowed. She had received the good news from Oke that his wife Chia Maka had delivered a baby girl last night. Mama Oke was prepared to go see Oke, his wife, and their newborn baby in Port Harcourt. As for Ngozi, she had the news of Oke's marriage, and now his wife had delivered a baby girl for him. Ngozi wept for days. She tried calling Oyamas' number, but Oyama had blocked her. Before Oyama blocked her, she sent her a long text message. She told Ngozi she was responsible for her failed marriage. She reminded her of what she had done to her years ago, how she tarnished her image back then in secondary school, and she had finally had her revenge back. It was then it dawned on her that she had lost everything, not because of the devil, but because of her foolishness and pride. And so, this is how the story of Ngozi, the wicked daughter-in-law, came to an end. Until next time, my name is Efua of Folktales by Efua. Do remember to like, share with friends and family, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you and bye!